What's up, guys? How's it going? This is David Sebastian. Whoa, there's a picture. This is David Sebastian, coordinator of Mentoring Arts Programming with Wayside. I am here once again, hanging out with you guys to do some artwork. Hopefully, we're going to finish our rocker project on our Jonah Hex / Dark Tower leather. So far, we started here. This was our airbrush, well, I guess this was one step in, kind of. Our initial work was the back gun, which was just a straight stencil that I built in Photoshop, and then took into Silhouette Studio and made into a stencil, and then we sprayed those two, one on top of the other. I worked on it just a little bit there with the Micron. And then after that, our next session was adding a little bit of lighting and stuff to the front Colt. That one is not done, but it's coming along. And right now, we're right here, which is pretty close to that last one, except I've started to clean up some of the background elements around the second Colt and that kind of stuff, and trying the best I can to help to isolate it before we're gonna paint it. I just want to get down here a little so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. So that's what we're up to today. I am gonna do a couple of different stuff. I'm a little scattered in these programs. If you have watched any, if you're interested at all, I think I have maybe 50 videos now between here on Facebook and here on YouTube and over on my Facebook group, both the Greenhouse Graphics groups. Greenhouse Graphics is my program. It's a part of Wayside Youth and Family. Wayside is a human service agency out of Framingham. They do a lot of great work with young adults and their families and their community. I work with a program called the Parent Peer Partnership, that is young adults with lived experience going out to connect with other young adults that are in the system, to give them, the feeling of not being alone. I used to work in a program called Tempo Young Adult Resource Center, which is at 68 Henry Street in Framingham. And I built a studio in the basement there. And we do open studio programming there on Wednesday and Fridays. I've been doing that for probably about 5 years. And as soon as they let us back in the building, I will return to that programming. And I can't tell you how much I miss you guys out there that I usually get a chance to hang out with at the open studio program. The other days of the week, other than Wednesday and Friday, I am in the community working anywhere that young adults happen to be, schools and parks and youth centers and gyms and anywhere kids might happen to be, the park, the library, and trying to find those guys and outreach to them with artwork to convince them that they should share their artistic expression with their community, their friends and neighbors, and that it has value, that it really, really does have value, and that it's important to me to make it available to our community. That's kind of the job, My program was created with a partnership between Wayside and the Department of Mental Health. Both companies have been, both agencies, I guess, have been incredibly supportive of what I've been doing. I also run some other programming, like photography programming and stuff. But because of the social nature of those programs, we've been limited to just working in a demo setting, But I hope we can have a good time with it. I hope that you guys who've come back are having fun, watching. I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. I hope that it's cool for you guys. You know what I mean? Just got to be able to watch myself on the video here. So give me just 1 second here. There we go. It's a little uncomfortable to watch yourself on video, but honestly, it helps me understand what I'm looking at, what you're looking at. Don't judge me. Or judge me. It's the gig to be here with you guys, I'm here to try to help. That's what I'm up to. All right. Over here on what I was saying, so I can watch myself, I also have a reference for a Colt long gun. I'm kind of torn between the two guns. One's a Colt long gun, which is really what I've used for the bulk of the reference, and the other is a Colt Dragon. Now, I'm not a gun guy. In fact, I really don't care for guns at all. They're beautiful, I suppose, as far as being a very interesting tool. Um, but other than that, I don't dig them at all. Like they're not cool. In fact, I would say I've drawn an incredibly small number of guns in my life, and any times I did, it was never about violence. It was about irony. And satire. So in any case, we're working with, I'm working with the Colts, so I definitely have to have a reference. So I'm using this one. Also, these are the guns from Roland in the Dark Tower, if you guys out there know who Roland is. The main piece on the back of this jacket is Jonah Hex. In fact, here's pretty close to how we left the finish up there. It's Jonah Hex, and I love him. He's a super crazy tough guy, Western character, but I don't know any other Western characters that I really like. I mean, there's High Plains Drifter, and things like that, and those guys are amazing, but they're hard to draw, sort of. That's not even the right word. They're not that they're hard to draw. They're just I couldn't find them, basically. I was going to show you one more, but I don't have it. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the correct screen here. So I couldn't think of something else that was Western that I really liked. So I decided, when I thought about it, I wanted it to be kind of a witchy Western thing. Without being cliche, shamans and that kind of stuff, which I have tons of respect for. I just think it's overused as a sort of supernatural aspect of the West. And the more I thought about it, the only Western story that I've ever really loved, with the exception of 3:10 to Yuma, is The Dark Tower, and it's all Western stuff, but it's witchy and weird Western stuff, and this is what I'm looking for. So what I decided is Jonah Hex is going to be the star of the back piece of this jacket, but the rest of the jacket is going to be Dark Tower. So I'm going to finish these guns here, and then below them let's see if I can show you, in this area down here, we'll put the Ka symbol, which is, Ka is like karma in the Dark Tower. And then up here, we're going to put the number 19. 19 is kind of like an evil number in the story. So the first thing we have to do today is that we have to label a marker that we made the last time we were together. This is my mixer. So the last time we were together, we made some custom skin tone. It still looks pretty good, and I'm excited about it. But I have not labeled it. And as a colorblind person, it's a little on the challenging side to find markers when you haven't labeled them. So I really try to be anal about it. Like this guy here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It says Old Bone White on it. And that's absolutely the color it is. Lately, I've been making custom markers of all of my airbrush paints. Like this bottle right here is Illustration Dermatitis Tan. That's a great color for skin and that kind of stuff. Turn my airbrush on. And so I decided that if you put them in a marker, in an empty marker, which these are, of course, empty Maltown markers, if you take an empty, in fact, I think I have one in here. Take an empty marker, right? Open it up, take the capillary out, put your paint in there, pull this capillary system out, put your paint in here, about 3/4 of airbrush paint, and then another quarter of reducer. Stick this guy back in. Give it a good shake. Make sure you don't drop your nib. Almost. This is totally not embarrassing at all. You need your nib. It's very important. And then you just screw this thing back together. All right. Everything's running today. Stick your nib back in the end. This is the nib here. Shake it up and we're good to go, and then it gives you another way to apply your airbrush paint. I will admit that this jacket seems to be sliding more and more towards all airbrush. So I decided to go the other way. And what the other way would be would be using marker ink in the airbrush, right? So these are refills for the paint markers, like the ones, the company ones, or the pre-filled ones. And if I put those in the airbrush and spray with those, we're using markers. We're just using them in a different way, you know? So I don't know if that's cool or not, but that is what I've been doing. I feel like it's cool, you know? Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. All right, so anyway, we're just going to label up this marker real quick. This is like a 4 million-year-old brother labeler. It has I have emotional connection to it, you know. I've had it for a long time. So all we're going to call it is, the name I paint under is Toast 23. And that's going to be too long. There we go. Number 2, number 3. Number. There we go. Doesn't want to work with me today. Space skin. Now it wants to do its own. So you just type that guy in there. You know, you can change a lot of stuff, the font and all that kind of stuff, but I don't care about that. All right. Now the only thing that does suck about the labeler is that it is a little challenging to get you know, it started. And I've been finding lately, if you just fold the corner over, a lot of time it displaces the paper enough to split it. Gotta break out my surgical scissors, do some quick surgery. Almost. Oh, just had it right here. Oh, ridiculous. Usually not so, it's, you know, it's usually inconvenient, but it's not like a serious crazy pain. I always think that I know what this thing is supposed to do, but I really don't have any idea what it's supposed to do. So, you know what I mean? Just keep sticking it in there and see if that makes it work. There we go. Just when you decide to pull your hair out, that's usually when stuff comes through. Right? Although, I don't know, that was pretty quick, actually. Lately, I've been trying to put it around the top collar of the marker because it's really clear there. The only thing you have to watch out for is taping your lid on. It looks like I missed it that time. That's good, huh? Just a little extra here. There we go. So now we got a label on there. We know what it is. The coolest discovery this week was I've been looking desperately for rust, like a rust color. And I haven't been able to find anything. And like this, what I used here is a combination of yellows to try to get kind of something along the lines of what I feel like rust would look like. But I haven't really been able to get too much. And then I found this color. And this color is is lobster, but I feel like it could work, you know, especially down, you know, this end of the gun. You know, like if we get it in here a little, not significant, you know, just drops, and kind of rub it in. I think that this could make a good rust kind of color. You know what I mean? And then we'll like kind of throw a little bit of brown on top of it. I mean, it's a real brown red, you know, at least as far as it looks to me. Always be careful where you leave your razors, since they might hurt you. You know what I mean? All right. So at this point, just starting to, you know, get really into some detail stuff. And how I use paint markers very often is in wiping. You know, I think that that has always worked for me. So I want to use my tiny ruler. When you're working with something as you know, as mechanical or as, you know, contrived as a weapon, definitely want to make sure you use a ruler, because pretty much everything should look like it was spit out of a machine. Now there I'm trying to accentuate this corner here, you know, where maybe there wouldn't be as much rust, because that's the part that was catching the light and stuff, you know what I mean? Now I do kind of want that to taper out a little, but, you know, we're going to figure that out. All right, next place to throw a little rust. Much of the upper part of the gun is made of a different material, so it holds the light in a different way. We're going to throw this rust in here, and then I'm going to attempt to put the eld symbol, thinking either right here or right there. And then we're going to have to paint that in to make it make sense. Otherwise it won't. All right. Now we got a couple of bolts in there. I mean screws. All right. Get out our airbrush. I have left the airbrush with paint remover in it, airbrush cleaner in it, so that it helps to like break down any paint that happens to be sitting in there. I have heard of folks leaving the airbrush sitting in a container of cleaner, the front end of it. I feel like there's some seals and stuff in there I wouldn't want to have soaked in that material. So I don't do it that way, but there's nothing, you know, you guys do it however you want, you know, I'm fine with that. All right, we still got a little bit of yellow in there. So we just throw a little water in, spray that bad boy out a little. And either way, I'm putting a little black in, so how much it matters that there's some yellow is negligible. Right. So for this one, we're going to use some more some more marker paint. This is Maltao. I think they call it ink, even though it's paint. This is a refill for the paint marker. Not going to put a ton in there, because you'd be surprised how far like a drop of paint goes in the airbrush. You know, we're like misting, so it really lasts a long time. So for this, I'm just going to try to do a little bit of discolor in the area that we were just putting some of our rust in. Thinking about getting, maybe it'll take me out for a sec. I'm thinking about getting a magnifier, because I keep working smaller and smaller, it feels like. So there we go. Make sure we don't have too much yellow on our tip here. I always like to get a quick look at how the airbrush is running. You know, you're getting all your air out. The last color's gone. The top of the needle is clean. You know, these are all things that are hyper relevant to have the airbrush work the way you want. Now for this, we need just a little bit of masking to keep from, accidentally spraying on the gun. I have a couple of different types of masks, different types of materials here. It's not going to work. This guy might be just too big. Maybe not. The life of the leather is always a problem. The fact that it moves and breathes and stuff. All right. What's more important, that line or this one? I think it's this one. All right, so we're going to try a little bit of detail work here. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think that looks kind of cute. Just get in here. Get this spot first. All right. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. What I'm hoping to do is to get this area up here to be holding some rust, and then this area below to be cleaner. You know what I mean? So I think that we got just almost where I wanted it to be. It's just a little bit along the very top here. I wish I had a lobster sharper marker. Let me see if I have one. Alright. Have to break out the big guns. My larger marker supply. And being colorblind makes this process take a few minutes, which I hate. I hate that it takes any time at all. Oh, hold on. What's that guy? Is that our first one? Hey, there we go. That has to be the fastest I've ever found a marker in all my years as a marker artist. If I'm even allowed to call myself that. What do you guys think marker artists, what makes you a marker artist? I'm not really sure. I am not really sure. Something. All right, so we just take this guy and get a look at him, make sure he's working, see what kind of line we can get out of him. Not too bad. So like I said, we're just going to take it along the edge of the barrel. Goes down right here, just to give it the smallest little highlight, or to show that it's the top of this piece of metal. I don't even know if that worked at all. Looks like we missed. Or maybe you're just not going to be able to see this color. Looks good. That is not how I wanted it to look at all. Might be okay though. There we go. Kind of doesn't look that bad. That's really kind of what I wanted, is to get kind of a little bit of a transition there. Yeah, just the top edge a little, just like here. So just a little bit. All right, doesn't seem to be much rust in this piece up here. It's pretty dark. It goes like that. Second accent up here. Just get it in there a little bit. Okay. Pull down some of the opacity on that bad boy. black again. And this time, we're going to switch it up and go up to the our other thing, which is right there. Yeah, that looks good. Oops. That's the first time I've used that big triangle. I don't love it. I'm going to try like this. Oh, look at that. Why is it doing that? That's not cool. Maybe it's because of the ruler? That really sucked. I feel like I probably could have done it better. Let's keep this right here. See, that overspray is a little bit of a problem. All right. Kind of trying to figure out how best to create the highlights and stuff that the gun needs to have without blacking it out against the background. You know what I mean? Like, there's an extremely good chance that you won't be able to see the gun if I push too hard on the blacks, you know, that the gun kind of needs. So I think I'm going to wind up making the gun kind of a really dark gray. Come on. Looks pretty good. And like I said, so much of the back of this and stuff should be black, but I just don't think it's the right thing to do at the moment. You know, the life of the leather is a part of the project that is really, really challenging. Maybe the hardest part of the project, you know. Figuring out how best to deal with those things. Found a new stencil this week that I had made years ago. So I decided I would use it. I think it'll make a better screw than I did before. See, just a little bit rounder, you know. Not really looking to black it out because it's the screws. I want to be able to see a line down the middle. I'll be able to go back and fix that. Alright, so if we take a look at what we did at the back of the gun on this side, kind of going to do the same thing except that we want a shadow from one gun to the other. You know, so the shadows on this back gun will probably be a little different than on the front because this gun is in the way. Now if we take a look at the lighting that this gun has, it's kind of hitting from the side. So that means this gun back here would be dark along that edge. Same thing we talked about before though, which is you got to have a really straight line if it's going to be believably a manufactured item. Now we got some shadow going. This back part is what we were just working on. The other gun is kind of a metal. So, I mean, a different type of metal, like a copper, some kind of a yellower metal. So it probably wouldn't have the same shadow on it. All right. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So now we have the shadow from the other gun. And we also want this guy to kind of have some of his own shadows down here and over there. Have it be cleaned up like that. That helps it to look a little more like a manufactured item. A little more of an organic line. This one. So that comes around to over here as this flat spot, which is kind of holding up a little less flat spot. And then we have around here, it's got a little bit of darkness. You know how it is in today's world. Every once in a while, you just get a random notification. Since you're not expecting anything, this always kind of screws me up. All right, so there's kind of a piece right here. Let's see, we were working with this 00 micron, but it was not liking drawing on paint. So we're using this 0.3. So right here in the back, it actually kind of comes in and goes up through this area. So it comes in here, and then it kind of has a little tab piece that goes up like this and comes down here. Let's see. Yeah, it kind of does this. And then up, over, and then a separate bump that goes down to this one. All right, let's see if we can make that happen. That will be in that same coppery metal, making this area around it definitely a little darker than I've considered it right now. All right, so don't leave your markers open if you can avoid it. You guys see okay? I know I'm all over this thing in the way. All right. Might be getting a little low on paint here. Know what I mean? Alright, cool. Let's see, where do we want to go next? Let's throw a little bit of darkness through here. Don't like that one spot that I hit too hard. Okay. Down the back too. Okay. All right. So next over there is going to have to be some of this gold, because this is all, I mean yellow, because that's all, you know, yellows and stuff. Next thing though would be a little cleanup right here, which is some, a little bit of gray overspray. Okay, and missed a little. Okay. Same over here. One of those classic things, pretty much everything the airbrush does well, it also struggles with some stuff. So 0.3. Sorry about the compressor. Paid for a little bit, and it decides it's time to fill up again. This is kind of some of the stuff we're working on over here. You know, some of this back information. This going. Having a hump here, and then going up around over here. Not sure what the point of that is. Some kind of decorative thing. Right, that comes right around there. I want to see if I can get that in over here too. Second bump. It's basically like it. I'm having a hard time thinking this through. I don't know why. It's really just a little displacement here. Right? Everything should be in the front. And then there you go. It's so funny. I spend so much time looking at things to be able to draw them, to be able to look at something and just not be able to make sense out of it. It's an odd experience for me. It happens though. It happens to all of us. So all it is this additional guard here. Somebody else do it. Have a slight piece right here. The second bump. It's also yellow. Alright. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Nothing's more inconvenient than the location of the inside stitch. Yeah, it's no good. It's no good. Alright, I think we're going to try this airbrush, which I also left paint remover in. That's not good. Wonder why that guy's leaking like that. Let's see if he's gone in all the way. Huh. No, just leaking. Oh, there we go. Must have come unscrewed a little. All right. Grab our dump tank again. How you guys holding up? We're 42 minutes in. All we're doing is cleaning the paint remover, airbrush cleaner out of this guy. We'll run a little water through it. Almost. Come on, little girl. Let's put this down here. There's water in there. Sometimes if it takes a little bit to come out, that means it's a little clogged. There we go. That's the sound we're looking for. Oh, this paint reservoir is extremely small. Barely fits my finger in there. Now for sure we're still going to get a little, so we're getting nothing but water. I love it. So the yellow I used was this Bloodline yellow. I like it. It's called Injury Ochre. And it's been working. Same as, I would say the same as the other paint, you know. Don't use a lot of paint. My daughter's learning how to paint and it's awesome. I love watching her do it. But she uses way too much paint, which comes from me being her dad and there being paint around, you know. Because for sure, I never did that, you know, because I never had any paint. So I was super careful. I probably still have paint left over from when I was like 10. Just looking for a little bit of a drop of brown. We can add in here just to change it up a little. Let's start to shake that a little more. Had this guy like 4 years, so you never know what's going on in the bottom of this bottle. Undiscovered country. Yikes. There we go. Got my little mixer here if that trick doesn't work. This, you know, the Grex airbrushes, well, I don't think both of them, no, just this one, has this really interesting, like, king style cap where it's open on the side, crown cap, I think they call it. And it's really interesting and it's magnetic and I love that about it. But that tip makes the way I mix not work. And whatever. I still like it. I still think the brush is nice. I did lose the back half. And it has been kind of messing with me because my finger's usually there. And you can't because you impede the movement of the needle. So I have to hold it in a slightly different way. Getting a pretty regular yellow. A little bit. All right, now for this, maybe the same idea with masking because, you know, we don't want to get the other gun. We don't want to mess up the lines we've made, you know, that kind of stuff. I think I'll use this big ruler right there. And then we'll use the little one right here, just under the big one. Right, and then we just need one more straight line. Sometimes having a whole bunch of junk around your studio works out because this is a piece of acetate which is incredibly thin and doesn't stick to the surface and will mask pretty much perfectly. I'll have to flip it over for the other side. Although maybe I have another one here. No, that is a letter cut out of it. always seem to have a little bit of acetate laying around, but that one's going to work really well, and that was great that we found that. People. Sorry, you guys. So this is the masking that we got going on. We're going to spray in this area over here. And I'm going in pretty soft, pretty light, I mean, because the, sorry about this. There we go. We're going to spray kind of light because we're looking to get some yellow, but we don't want it blowing out or anything, you know, like we don't want some crazy yellow. Which might not work at all, so.